Hej Shababs, og velkommen til vores første podcast i dag. I dag sidder vi med en amerikansk pige, hun hedder Amanda, og hun er 21 år gammel. I dag skal vi interviewe hende om, hvordan hun har det, og hvorfor hun kom til Danmark, og hvordan det var over i Amerika. Og i den her episode kommer vi til at snakke engelsk, så hvis du ikke forstår engelsk, eller det er ikke noget for dig, så er det her heller ikke den episode for dig.
So, today we have with us in the studio Sally, Amanda, Selma, and me, Celine. So, Amanda, you are 21 and you are from America. Where in America are you from?
I'm from Missouri. It's in the middle of the U.S., in the Midwest. I'm from a city called St. Louis.
Okay. You are an exchange student here in Denmark. Why did you choose to go to Denmark?
So when I was looking to study abroad, I had a few options. They were London, Paris, and Copenhagen. And I just thought that Copenhagen was a more obscure city that I didn't think I would ever visit in my life. And I also wanted to try out a city in Scandinavia because I've heard so many great things about there being a balance of community and culture and things to do, with it being a little more relaxing and not as fast paced. So I wanted to be in a city without it being as big as London or Paris, and that's why I chose Copenhagen.
Okay, so did you know anything about Denmark before you came here?
So I only really knew that it was perceived as one of the happiest countries in the world because that was on a paper I read like 5 or 10 years ago. But other than that, I didn't know anything about Denmark or Copenhagen really, and I didn't have any friends who had visited, so it was pretty new.
So when you came here to Denmark, was there any big culture shocks you had?
I think firstly, I'm really reliant on my car in America, so I drive everywhere to get to school, to go get groceries, go to the gym. Like, I don't go a day without my car. So that was the very first thing. Having to navigate public transport and seeing everyone else use their bikes and not use cars was interesting. And then in general, one of the really big culture shocks was style. Like, I felt that so many people like had such great style and were dressed well, and I'm so not used to that. Like, I'm used to leaving the house in sweatpants and a hoodie and a really non-cohesive outfit. So that was another big thing for me when I first got here, was just having to leave the house and use public transport and look presentable was quite a big shock.
Yeah, how about the alcohol here in Denmark from a very young age is 16 and in America it's 21.
Yeah, so in America, you can't buy alcohol or go to a club until you're 21. There's also not an open carry policy, which means you have to conceal your alcohol depending on what state you're in. And so I was so shocked being here in Denmark and seeing people have beers and wine on the metro, and just learning that you could purchase alcohol, like lower levels, at 16 and get into clubs at 18. That was crazy to me because in America, like, waiting until you're 21 to drink is such a big deal, and when you turn 21, it's a huge deal because you can finally legally drink and people throw big parties. And so that was a huge difference for me, and I was really shocked to learn that you can drink so early here.
So about the driving you said before, how we are here in Denmark, we can first get the driver's license when we're 17, and in the America it's at 16. So, and you can just drive around.
Yeah, so basically in America, it differs by state, but in most states, when you turn 15, you can apply to get your learner's permit, which is basically you have to take a written test about rules of the road, different signs, and stuff like that. And then you're allowed to drive with another person in the car. So when I was 15, I practiced driving with my dad, and we would just go to parking lots and drive around. And then when you turn 16, you can take the driver's test. And so you just go to a DMV, a Department of Motor Vehicles, and you get assigned an officer who will sit in your passenger seat, and you take the driver's test, and it just tests you on your ability. And then after that, you get your license, and you can totally just freely drive at 16. And most of my friends, we were super reliant on our cars from 16, so we would drive everywhere, and we had a lot of independence from it.
Okay, but like also a big subject is like school over there because I heard and got to know like it's really different. So is there like anything you wanted to like tell about us about it?
Yeah, I think first the school day is longer, and I hear in Denmark there's different types of activities you do in school. So on Sundays you will study one subject for the entire day, or you'll do a field trip where you're kind of more like outside of the classroom. Whereas in America, we just had the same 8-hour school day, 5 days a week. And then in addition to that, I think in Denmark, you stay with your same class throughout the day, whereas in America, you go to a different class every hour of the day, so you're always with different people. And there's a lot of after-school programs for like parents who work until 5. So a lot of people will stay at school until 5, 6, 7 p.m. playing sports or going to the YMCA or participating in clubs and stuff like that.
And also like prom, is that like a big thing over in the US and UK? Like I also think somebody called it like Hoko.
Yeah, so there's two dances. They're homecoming and prom, and homecoming is Hoko. That's usually in the fall, like September or October, and then prom is in May. And so for homecoming, it's more casual, but it's so fun. We all buy dresses, or typically like short dresses. We do our own makeup and hair, and there's a homecoming dance at school. And so most people will go to the school dance for like maybe 30 minutes to an hour, and then we just kind of go back and hang out. And then for prom, it's a bigger deal. So you wear like a really long dress. Most people get their hair and their makeup done. You have a date, and you have a corsage and boutonniere, which is the flower. So the corsage, like if you have a date, they put it on your hand, and the boutonniere is a flower that you pin on to a suit. And it's like a really fun night. You go to a venue, and there's usually food there. People stay for the whole time and dance, and there's a DJ. And like in high school, I would look forward to homecoming and prom every year. It's like some of the most fun I had with my friends, just getting ready together, going to the dance. We would go with a lot of our friends from other schools, so we could go to multiple dances, and we had our like group of friends from swimming would all go together. So it's so fun, and it was like a really fun time to like dress up and put on makeup and take pictures, and just it was nice that it happened once every semester, so like you're always have something to look forward to.
And also like I've heard like a lot of things of like shooting over there and crimes in the school.
Yeah, I think like I kind of think that the stereotype about like school shootings in America that's held in Europe is the same in America. Like a lot of American students do have complaints and kind of are wary of going to school because of that. And I think teachers really have the attitude that like it's not if but when, and they really try to train you to prepare for these things. But like personally, I haven't ever been like affected by one in my local area, but it just is something to be cautious of. And it's definitely one of those things where people become very politically active from a young age because they see these things happen, and they, want change, and they want to be able to have a voice. So I think it definitely affects a lot of people in America from a young age.
Like what about electives? I can't really pronounce it, but I think you know what it means.
Yeah, electives are basically classes in school that aren't a part of the core curriculum. So the core classes are math, science, history, and English. So those are required classes, and outside of that, you get to choose from a catalog of different classes. So some people do art, music, special weightlifting classes. Personally, I did fabrics and food. So in 7th grade, I took fabrics and I learned how to sew because they had sewing machines, and I like became obsessed with sewing and it was super fun. And then I also took foods class, so we just learned a lot of food basics. And I took those again in high school, and you can take them at a higher level. And so it's just a lot of, it's like extra classes that aren't a part of like the core academic curriculum, that are like more to learn different skills and like have kind of a more fun sort of class.
Yeah. Okay. We have a lot of stereotypes about America in Europe and a lot of other countries, about the shootings and the political system, and on the internet, Karens. Can you tell us a bit about that? Are there a lot of them?
Yeah, I think so for the Karens, like I think they definitely, we do have some. Like I used to work at Starbucks and I worked at a pizza shop, and you would get some people who were really riled up over like a wrong order, or some like us not being in stock with a certain syrup. But in general, I think people are really kind, especially in the younger generation. I think a lot of us have worked in service, and so they're like, people are very kind and they don't blow up in restaurants. But you definitely do see some of that, and it's like it's kind of funny that it became like an internet meme, because like I feel like it definitely is, it like shapes America in people's eyes, and like they do exist, but not to like a huge level, which is good because I worked in service and it wasn't miserable. And when you get someone like that, you and your coworkers just laugh about it and it becomes a joke, so it's like chill. But yeah, they definitely do exist.
So there are also some stereotypes about Denmark, like we are one of the happiest countries. Have you heard about the word hygge?
Yeah, I learned about it like my first week here, and I was like, I was really interested in learning about it because I think it's like really interesting to study like happiness and like on like a national level. So I have heard of the term hygge before.
What do you think of it?
I think that when I first got here and it was really new to me, I was really interested in like learning how Denmark is the happiest country and like learning about Hygge. But I think like more kind of living here longer, I think I kind of start to draw more similarities between here and other places I've lived. I think like in general, I think there's like a more like leisure lifestyle here, and it's less focused on like capitalism and the economy as it is in America. But in general, I think like people still kind of have the same complaints and they live the same day-to-day lives as you do in America. So I don't think the whole like I think that with Denmark being like the happiest country, like I think it's hard to place the specific reasons why that came to be after living here for 2 months, because it's not something you really like see in your day-to-day life.
What are the most true and untrue stereotypes you've heard from other countries about America?
I guess like a lot of stereotypes say that Americans are kind of more like loud and unapologetic, maybe abrasive, and maybe even like uneducated. And I think some of those can be true in terms of like people being very patriotic and like loud and proud about being American. And yeah, you definitely do get some people who might come off as more like vain or uneducated, or just because of like, I don't know, if you see like a random like street interview, that might be how it seems. But I think that definitely like the stereotype I see the most out of those is maybe like the people being very like loud and proud about being American. But also it really depends where you go. Like America is so big, and every state you go is very different. They have different cultural values, they have different traditions, and in general they have a different outlook towards America, towards Europe, and just towards the world. So I think it's like hard to place American stereotypes and say they're true just because America is so big and it's hard to like to narrow it down just to like one idea.
So before you talked about style in Denmark, so what's the contrast between Denmark and America and how you used to dress when you were our age?
I think that in Denmark, like everyone looks very put together, and even if it's like wearing a hoodie or wearing like casual leisure wear, like it still looks very nice and put together, and fashion forward. Like it looks like what I see on my Pinterest boards. Like I don't know if you know Matilda Djerf, like the influencer, but it really like I think a lot of outfits give that vibe. And I also notice it's very neutral, so like I don't see a lot of bold color. Whereas in America, I think people wear more like bold clothing, so maybe like bright colors. A lot of people wear like stuff with logos, so sports teams, which I haven't seen here, but if you were to go to a grocery store by my house, everyone would be wearing like a sports team like logo on their shirt, like graphic tees, and I think there's like less of a cohesive like style, whereas here it's like really put together and like it seems like fashion is a pretty big part of people's lives, whereas in America you kind of just throw on an outfit and you don't think about it and you hope that you don't see anyone because it's like might be an ugly outfit that you don't care about, but it's not that important.
Okay, and also like um I think there's also like a big difference between our Netto and your like Target. So yeah, like are the difference?
Yeah, so we have a ton of like giant supermarkets slash stores that just have like so many things. So Target, Walmart, they have groceries, but they also have like clothes and jewelry and like random things like hammers and like kitchen supplies, just everything you could think of they have. So that's one difference is like your stores are more like niche. Like you would go to one store to get clothes and then another store to get food and then the last store to get supplies. Whereas we have stores that have all of that. But even our grocery stores that just sell food, like they're so much bigger here than they are, or they're so much bigger in America than they are in Denmark. So like there's probably like 20 aisles of different food and just so many different options. Whereas when I go to Netto, it's very small, it's very like contained, and if I'm looking for something like rice, there's going to be two options, or pasta, there's going to be like three options. Whereas in America, there's so many different options, and it takes a lot longer to go grocery shopping. And then also another thing is that you have to buy grocery bags here because it's a lot more sustainable. Whereas in America, like where I live, you just go and you can get like 10 plastic bags and it's free and no one even brings their own bags to grocery stores.
That was kind of it for like the stores and stuff.
Yeah, that is it for today. Thank you for coming in. It has been a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. It was really fun. Yeah, thank you. Vi ses, Babs, og vi ses i næste episode. Og tak til Amanda, det var super hyggeligt.